Me presta un lapicerito. ¿Sabes inglés? Un poquito. Tiene que aprender. Póngase las pilas con eso. Todo el que tenga algo que decir en el mundo habla inglés, entonces únase a ese grupito. Good morning and welcome to this OECD Forum, in which Colombia will share its experiences, methodologies, and lessons learned through the voice of those involved in creating a responsible supply chain with mercury-free gold from Colombia to the international market. My name is Liliana Alvarado, the National Coordinator of planetGOLD Colombia, and I will be with you today. The purpose of planetGOLD is the elimination of mercury from small-scale and subsistence mining in Colombia. And it's been financed by DEF. The project is found in 9 countries. In Colombia, it's found in 3 mining regions especially. The idea is to reach territories that are free of this contaminant, and of course, to collaborate with a sustainable and well-used mining system. In Colombia, it's found basically in the 3 major mining regions, Antioquia, Cauca, and southern Bolívar. And we've been aiding 2,000 miners, providing them alternatives to benefit gold and to promote good practices in the small scale and subsistence mining. planetGOLD, firstly, really is comprised of 4 components, which began by enhancing the capabilities of the entities that serve the sector, improving their protocol standards, technical, environmental, and health sectors. Really, it's to improve the mining technique. Secondly, to provide technical aid and formalizations, access to the banking system, and financial inclusion. The pilot that we'll show you today is the commercialization pilot, which is part of planetGOLD. After reaching the region and identifying the mining organizations, after they have their basic formalization process, we launch the assistance that we provide them so that they can engage the market. The supply chain shown today includes the due diligence guide of the OECD, the use of planetGOLD criteria, which incorporate craft developed also by the ARM. And this is not only practiced in Colombia, but also in other countries, in Latin America and worldwide. Undoubtedly, with the national government and led by the Mines and Energy Ministry, these traceability and legality exercises contribute to boost a mining that is clean, responsible, and fair. Hence, we will greet all of the people involved in this chain, and we'll see the challenges and efforts made in this integration process. And of course, the idea is always to continue and to have a path of this traceable gold free of mercury ahead. So we hope we can review with you today these efforts and how with planetGOLD we are trying to meet our goals along with the 2,000 miners that we're working with. We're trying to intervene so that the reduction of mercury is of 20 tons in the 3 regions that I mentioned in Colombia, and that we can find dynamics within the regions, and that Colombia really is free of mercury, and to have a mining activity that's fair. Women are also part of this strategy, and we hope that this path and this commercialization chain can give way to talk about the women that we're making efforts for. And today, we'll be showing you the first pilot, which I hope you enjoy. As I told you, the national government has led these processes, and that's why today we'd like to begin giving the floor to Engineer Mary Helen Ochoa, leader of the Mining Formalization Enhancement Strategy, to kick off this forum, to talk about the importance of traceable mining in Colombia and how this ministry has been supporting these types of exercises in the region. Mary Helen, thank you so much for being with us. The floor is yours. Thank you, Liliana. Good morning to you all. If you allow me, I'd like to show you several slides or a video. Ready? Okay, can you watch? Can you see this? Yes, we can. Okay, good morning. My name is Mary Helen Ochoa. I am part of the team of professionals from the Ministry of Mines and Energy of Colombia under mining formalization. I am the coordinator, as Liliana said, of the group of formalization in mining. So today I'd like to brief you from the Ministry of Mines and Energy about the efforts made in the Colombian mining sector so that the mining cycle, the entire cycle can be made responsibly. And we start with this, keeping in mind that miners should start to do everything legally. I mean, that's the very first promise that we have as the Ministry of Mines. And it's this guideline that we have for the sector. So we begin with legality or lawfulness. For these 4 years, we set out the goal of having 27,000 miners into lawfulness. To date, we have assisted 21 miners, of which 2,231 come from the gold mining extraction sector. The ministry, which leads this sector, has always made efforts and worked hard on assisting these miners. However, to be able to meet the goal set, we had to begin trying to generate legal tools so that these small miners could reach their lawfulness in a way. Let's say that right now, much easier, but the word is really in the most proper and quicker way, keeping in mind the activities that they carried out before. Because if we start to say that extraction is illegal, the production that comes from it is illegal. So we had to change that shift of mind. So we had to begin to certify each production. And for that, in this process of lawfulness, we had allies, which are the environmental corporations, the Ministry of Environment, the Mining Authority, and stakeholders. And when it comes to enhancement, collaborators have played a major role. So what are we doing in Colombia to help this mining sector to become more lawful? Firstly, we want them to make their extractions legally. When they do so, we start to help them to carry out the exploitation with good practices, to make a proper use of the resource, to sell the mineral, the ore in the markets, to begin from the very beginning, which is the exploration stage, until the very end, which is the ore, to have a traceability of legality. Why? Because we really want to see good revenues at a good price. So what have we done here when it comes to enhancement? We have an action plan in place for cleaner gold production, in which the Geological Direction or Bureau of Colombia, also the National Agency of Mining, and the Secretary of Mines of Antioquia and the international cooperation have intervened to carry out this plan. And what has this led to? First, the institutional enhancement, educational enhancement, education, and to increase the capabilities of their skills and how to improve their activities, how to improve how they carry out their operations to benefit the ore. The enhancement when it comes to skills has been made by training 1,200 miners to date. And our allies are government, locally owned companies, private enterprises as well. But when it comes to these three pillars that the ministry has led, when it comes to legality and enhancement, we've also worked a lot with the third pillar, which is cooperation. So far, we've worked on two projects. One, with gold plans, with planetGOLD through ARMs, and the Swiss initiative, A Responsible Gold. Both initiatives seek the traceability of gold, to have a cleaner gold that will provide to the market and higher profitability, and of course, to improve the cash flow of our miners. That's our task right now, along with the collaborators. Our allies now are PGA and ARMs. And that's the exercise we're doing now from the Ministry of Mines and the mining formalization sector, with the purpose of making our miners to have a better production of gold and better sales of gold, and to have a better use of the land that they're using to extract. So for that, the Mines and Energy Ministry, along with the collaborators and with our mining authority, have conducted several exercises for technical assistance, training on operations of those parts of the mining cycle. Also, all of this assistance and training has led to have miners that are turning their work into companies, into enterprises. And that's really what we want with our enhancement pillar from the ministry, to have extraction procedures that become enterprises. I don't know if you have any questions. Thank you, Mary Ellen, for your talk. We understand all the efforts that the ministry has been making to date, and the effort every day that you are making through your projects in the regions, along with the mining agency and the Colombian Geological Service or Bureau, which join you in this strategy to train miners so that they can see their activity as an enterprise. Mary Ellen, please stay with us so that we can continue with the Q&A session later. Now, let's welcome Maria Jose Trujillo, who's the coordinator of supply chains of the ARM, and who will be with us in the panel. Maria Jose, tell us about this chain. What have we done in Colombia with these actors? And let's have an open floor for you. Maria Jose, welcome. Hello, good morning to everyone. For me, it's a pleasure to be with you right now. I'd like to thank you for your valuable time to hear us about our great experience in planetGOLD and free of mercury-gold projects. I am the leader of this Alliance for Responsible Mining in Colombia, which was born in 2004 after the Green or Oro Verde initiative in Chocó to train traditional artisan miners. It was the first certification system that we had for small-scale and artisanal mining in Colombia. We really push for everything have to do with the craft certification and fair mining. We have more than 50 professionals and a board of directors that reflects the reality of our supply chain and the diversity of this sector. Initially, we worked with the fair mine certification, but we realized that this is a demanding certification with the best practices in the industry. And not all the miners could have access to this. So we had to make a gradual trail based on risk management. So based on the due diligence guide of the OECD, we have the craft guide for small scale and artisanal miners, which sets apart these miners. And it's it's noteworthy that everything has to do with this has to do with developing countries. And that's why it's so important that the donors provide sustainable financing throughout different years so that these projects to solve the fundamental challenges of the sector can see changes. So we began working with this project with planetGOLD, which I'll give you more details ahead. But let me tell you more about the Sustainable Mining Program, which has been developed by the ARM to train miners and to implement the fair mine certification and with risk management procedures to communicate or disclose the positive impacts of artisanal and small-scale mining and everything that has to do with the SDGs. It's also important to be aware that this is a gradual program. It's scalable. It can be more accessible for the artisanal and small-scale miners, and they can be advised by organizations like ours, cooperation projects, and actors of the industry. Within the planetGOLD project, we have determined to use the craft certification to show the compliance of artisanal and small-scale miners. Here, this goes aligned with the due diligence guide of the OECD, and it's divided into 5 modules, as you can see here. Module 1 shows the number of workers, the associates, the processes involved. Everything has to do with extraction, benefit, everything that has to do with administration. Module 2 is the legitimacy, how artisanal and small-scale miners can demonstrate that they're meeting the minimum regularization processes, which in Colombia is a technical approved document and like a permit to commercialize that gold. In Colombia, it's important to determine that in the second module, we have the elimination of the use of mercury, because in Colombia, mercury is prohibited for its use in artisanal and small-scale mining. Module 3 shows you the risks that should not be present within the supply chain, which has to do with child labor, violation of human rights, everything has to do with war crimes, armed groups, etc. So with regards to these risks, we make an assessment, and these are not there, and how we can verify that they're not present within the artisanal and small-scale mining. Module 4 has to do with mitigation strategies. So here we can see that we can materialize the risks and to have mitigation strategies. So we have relations with the public authorities. Also, it's important these processes to have gradual payment of taxes. In these very informal economies, it's a major challenge to pay taxes. Also, corporate ethics to have within these mining sectors, anti-bribery, different types of parameters. Module 5 includes the challenges that are not part of the OECD due diligence guide, which are vital. For instance, the elimination of the use of mercury, to protect the rights of indigenous groups, and to protect the environment. After Module 4, we start to look at the compliance, and we may have a craft report prepared to showing the miners how they're doing with the risk management. And it's like a tool for the due diligence needed by the commercializer or whoever wants to have ties with the miners. So with planetGOLD, we're working within component 3. And here we are participating, building these commercialization of free mercury gold. We have some priority miners prioritized in Antioquia, Bolívar, and Cauca. We're working with a good number of miners that are undergoing an intervention. And right now, the mining organization, La Gabriela, not only has met the planetGOLD criteria, but also it reached its fair mine certification. So the assistance provided to them has been showing them what the project is. Everything has to do with sustainable mines, what are their benefits, the technical assistance that can be given to them, the scope of it all. We ask questions, and we fill out a form in which they talk about their status, the type of mining they make, the type of people involved. And also, we identify the final beneficiary, and we review backgrounds. This information is presented to a pre-feasibility committee in which members of ARM and of PNUD determine if these mining organizations have the potential to connect with the market. We make, later after the approval, we schedule a technical visit which verifies all of the criteria of the craft code and fair mind, and we make an improvement plan so that they can progressively reach their goals. And then when we validate the compliance of the mining organizations until Module 4, we look at potential buyers. Here, we really seek to validate if it's an organization with a good reputation in the region and in the media. Also, we identify the final beneficiary, we look at the backgrounds, And if there are positive signs, we present these mines to the international buyers. They are really the ones that have the best purchasing benefits and have less risks in terms of reputation. For this pilot, we involved Altea, the CI Orange Tech, and Italpreziousi. This is the supply chain that we have identified or helped to engage. La Gabriela, Altea Group, which was previously an expo, and Italpreziousi, which has been involved. This is the amount of gold that you can see on the screen is what we've commercialized so far, and super important. In December 2021, La Gabriela obtained its fair mine certification and has begun to pay the premium, a fair price for this gold. So this is what I wanted to tell you about. Major challenges engaging this chain involve the affinities between the players of the supply chain. Everything has to do with small amounts produced by the mining organizations and how international commercializers like an export Altea can help this gold can travel to refiners overseas. Here, the industry plays an important role to develop these mining organizations because with their incentives and purchases, they make these organizations to remain certified and gradually implement the best practices possible. So this is what I wanted to tell you about. Thank you so much. And have a great day. Thank you so much, Maria Jose. Surely we will be discussing with you the challenges of your project. Please remain with us to continue in this panel. Now let's listen to the first link of the chain, Julio Posada, our representative of La Gabriela. Welcome, Don Julio. Good morning. My name is Julio Cesar Posada from La Gabriela mine. This mine is a family-owned company that was opened in 1994. It extracts gold in vein or layer type of techniques. We are located in the department of Antioquia, the municipality of Tarazá, in the village San Miguel de Guaira in Ulaires. We are 18 kilometers from the capital. What's our mission? Mina La Gabriela is a company that is devoted to the exploration and exploitation and sale of mining resources, ore or gold, creating benefits for the community in a technical, productive, and profitable way. Especially everything sustained with a committed and efficient company that faces the economic and legal model. What's our vision? By 2025, La Gabriela mine will stand out for its excellent work. Its effectiveness can be reached through the results of profitability, and when it comes to performance, when it comes to health, occupational safety health. The ongoing improvement is important for us to reach a dignified workplace, to develop its workers, and to contribute to the progress of our country. Our origin. Since 1994, we began the legalization proceedings of the mine, given the need of acquiring explosives, because back then, the Colombian law was not as demanding with these types of mines. In the year 2000, we resumed the legalization proceedings. The Secretary of Mines began to legalize this company And as of then, we were assisted by the authorities for the PTO and PMA. Even back then, these both are pillars of our organization. In 2010, we carried out the concession agreement, and on November 27th, 2011, we were given the mining title of La Gabriela mine. So we formalized the company, and we have continuous improvements. What's our extraction process? We begin with perforation, exploitation, then the extraction of materials, then we transport this to the hoppers, to the grinding, and then to the mills. Then the material goes through catalans to the vibrators. Then the concentrates go to the remilling, and then to the tanks. Then we go to our foundation, transportation, where we provide the material founded to the Altea, which right now is our buyer. What are the environmental components of our mine? In 2007, we began with cocoa and rubber crops with Antioquia for our environmental components. So organizations arrived to the area to advise several farmers to have rubber and cocoa. We are also co-founders of ACATA, which is the Cocoa Association of Tarazá. Livestock activity is made also for economic revenue, and this provides stability when there's volatility in the mining production. In 2012, we began capturing African bees to avoid them to be killed because of the farmers were afraid of them. They had problems with them when they made damage. So we collected the bees and we created our apiary. Now we extract honey, which is sold among families, relatives, and friends. We established also fish ponds, first for the sustainment of the team work, but then we started to sell the fish. What's the road or the path to certification? In 2018, when we heard about ARM, this entity has guided and supported us with the certification process, and it's pivotal to our company. Economic investments were made to improve the infrastructure and extraction process. Training was provided to the entire work team. The certification was obtained December 30th, 2021. It's a benefit because we meet the regulations of Colombia and the standards of international companies. We contribute to make mining well done, responsible. It helps us to be part of the mining of the future, because without improvements and updating the small-scale mining, we would disappear. What are the main opportunities? The organization of the company in different components, more knowledge of the opportunities that there are within the markets, a trained work team to sell a product with a better price where the buyer values and knows about the extraction work, and acknowledgement of the efforts made by small-scale mining to continue. We have major challenges, of course, to keep having the certifications. It's so stringent, and keeping it is a challenge. To increase production, to create jobs, and improve the region, given the current situation, conflict situation of the region. Mining well done, which is an example for everybody that wants to change the face of mining, and to stop being stigmatized so much, and to let us work. To improve in the different components,
with the help of the prize when it comes to the technical, environmental, and social. Thank you so much. Thank you, Julio, for letting us travel with you in that wonderful mining operation. We know it's been a major effort for you and your family. Today, we have Juliana Posada, who's also been fundamental and a pillar for the development of this small-scale mining in Tarazá. Juliana, thank you for being with us, and stay with us so that we can continue discussing things with you. Now, let's listen to the local commercializer, who's fundamental as well in the engagement and harmonizing the market. Luzmeri, thank you for being with us. You are the representative of Altea Group. Tell us about your experience. Welcome. Good morning. My name is Luzmeri Chance. I am the director of Grupo Altea SAS. Initially, I want to show you a video in which you can get to know the company, our suppliers, and our due diligence process. And after the video, I'll talk about several topics related to our projects and the company per se. Let's watch the video. This is a story about gold and platinum, gifts of the earth that are there, latent, waiting to be discovered by collective hands, by men and women that know in these millenary jobs everything that they need to subside. These are small-scale miners that extract the ore from the heart of the planet. We are Grupo Altea, an industrial user in the Frank zone of Rio Negro. We export gold and platinum efficiently, reliably, safely, transparently, traceably, committed to the environment communities that live off these precious metals. Our commitment is to develop the mining territories, and that's why I support sustainability projects that contribute to the well-being and the best and improvement of quality of life of the regions. In Grupo Altea, for 8 years, we have been providing specialized services to national and international markets for the analysis, refinancing, foundation, moderation, prototyping, and casting, meaning creating added value to products that have in their commons everything has to do with precious metals. Using the latest technology and the best specialized teams, we can guarantee our clients that they will receive. We have a system of traceability that's biometric and facial, leader in the industry with the procedures of due diligence most rigorous of the sector, which allow us to provide a product that meets international markets, which are more and more stringent. Legality and sustainability of gold and platinum that respects the work of artisans and small-scale artisan mining. We are a company that's committed to the quality of services, that respects clients, suppliers, and allies, an organization that inspires trust and security, creating value throughout the entire supply chain for an increasingly demanding market. Every day we build this story, boosting the story of mining, because we are Grupo Altea, a company that exports gold and platinum with high technology to transform minerals. So with this, we can write a new story of a responsible and sustainable story. Okay, according to the video we just watched, I'd like to tell you about Grupo Altea. This is a Colombian company, and it's an industrial user in Rio Negro. We've been in operation for 8 years, and basically we generate value added to these precious metals, transforming them through casting transformation with the latest equipment and very qualified teams. Within our due diligence process, we have trace biometric and facial biometrics in which we take care rigorously from the origin to the end consumer, the traceability and knowledge of everybody that's involved in this process. We also guarantee a rigorous handling of metals and to meet all of the legal and national and international regulations. And we also include international standards. We also guarantee a clean extraction, since it's one of the company's policies not to acquire metals that have mercury or other chemicals that are hazardous to health. Within our due diligence process, we are also part of the most stringent refineries well known in the country, which are part of the London Bullion Market Association, which apply all their due diligence rigorously with us as a company and go to the origin of the minerals. So in addition to the due diligence that we have our own with our own suppliers, we also follow that of the LBMA visiting the mines and where we serve our artisan miners. And we have also documentary validations needed. When it comes to our supply chain, it has to be certified. That's why we seek our supply chain to be part of these types of projects and standards in which they commit to meet these criteria for responsible productions, in which also they can enjoy recognition nationally and internationally. So far, our company, most of the supply chain is under the Swiss initiative or under the Fair Mind stamp. So 100% of our suppliers should be part of these initiatives, and we want to change that sets apart with extraction processes that are responsible for the environment and communities. When it comes to La Gabriela mine, initially they were assisted by the Swiss entity to improve their processes, to implement all the improvements that were identified initially to meet the closing of gaps. They couldn't find a market in Switzerland, but still, with the initiative, and now with planetGOLD, we are very happy for La Gabriela because they will have the Fair Mine certification, and we'll have a market that they can have an incentive with that stamp. All of these projects, for us, are very positive for the sector and the country because they contribute to have improvements, not only within the mines, but with the processes, also in the environment and the community. Also, they support the formalization of the sector. They also support financial entities to trust them more throughout the country and to have financial inclusion for these miners, and also to guarantee very good supply chains aligned with the criteria of the top international standards, and to have sustainable and responsible commercialization for the miners, the artisan miners, and the companies that participate in this process, and the international market where the end consumer is responsible of acquiring minerals that are sustainable, that do not hurt the environment and communities. The sustainability of these projects is very valuable because while the mines commit, they start to improve, they commit to continuous improvement. So being part of these projects contributes to improvements, to have to work towards sustainable goals and to have mining that's traceable from the mine to the end consumer, to have living conditions among miners and communities that increase constantly and improve constantly, and to have public-private alliances that create true transformations through incentives that can be invested in processes that impact the mines, the community, and the environment. Thank you so much for your invitation. Thank you, Luz Mary, for telling us as well about this experience of the Altea Group and all the work carried out to support and commercialize these small-scale miners throughout the regions. Please remain with us, and we'd like to thank you and Grupo Altea for the effort made and the participation you've made to create this commercialization chain. And we'd like to end with Italpreziousi, who's with us, a representative of Italpreziousi, who also closes this chain. And she does it looking at the international market. We'd like to thank you since day one. You were so interested to participate with us in these efforts and great experiences of Colombia. So Alice, thank you for being with us today. And welcome. The floor is yours. Thank you for inviting us today to talk about this wonderful project. First of all, I would like to make an introduction about Italpreziousi, what the company is, and why we're working with planetGOLD. Firstly, Italpreziousi was founded in 1984 and is located in Italy, in Arezzo, one of the most important districts for the production of gold in Europe and the production of jewelry. And we are in a refinery, and we're certified by LBMA and RJC. For us, sustainability has always been fundamental, pivotal in our production. Indeed, our CEO, Ivana Chabakte, a very strong woman, in 2008 made the first sustainable gold project in Honduras with the Gold Plate project. We've always been tied to mining. Indeed, the company also has shares in 4 different projects in the world. And today, we're also Fairmine certified. For us, what does sustainability mean? It means having a way to work and to live with all of the goals of sustainability holistically. What does this mean? That everybody is important, and therefore we've never talked about one, but instead of many different goals. In fact, the idea is to influence everything. For us, the most important areas of our model are, of course, the people, human rights, the environment, and the supply chain, and economic value. And this needs to be tied entirely to sustainability. I'd like to make a small underscore about gender equality, which is fundamental for us. Indeed, as you can see, here we have fundamental topics which have to do with the women's empowerment principles. And our CEO is also part of many initiatives. As you can see, we have women in mining, we have the women empowerment principles, and we're always backing initiatives against gender violence, and also to have a due diligence that's much more focused on gender, such as women's rights in mining. And also we have a peace initiative that's set in Arezzo, where there are young adults, female adults from different countries that come from different countries in conflict and work to create peaceful solutions to be able to return to their countries and to develop peace-based initiatives. And there we arrive to a fundamental part, which is the supply chain. As I've told you, we have all the most important certifications worldwide for sustainability and responsibility in the supply chain. However, we've thought that certifications are important, yes, but it's also important to be more proactive. Indeed, as you can see here, for us, it's important to be proactive, especially in the private sector. We've seen that what we were working the most for were certifications, were the standards that differ from our counterparts. So, since we've grown so much, and our value was to share this with our counterparties. So, we've developed a system or of information and training of our supply chain, in which we brief and tell everybody about our sustainability, particularly the OECDs, and everything has to do with certifications, like our work with the ARM. And therefore, this is all important, and we always invite our counterparties to not exclude the topic, but instead to include it in the business, but to do it in a better way, in a more sustainable, responsible way, to support that. And here we arrive to a fundamental topic because, and that's what brings us here, it has to do with planetGOLD. For us, initiatives in which we can dialogue and share our experiences with other counterparties in the supply chain is pivotal, because each has its experience and we can all work together to improve the industry. planetGOLD for us is an extraordinary example. Since 2019, we've had a project, and from the very beginning, we found Liliana, who's the representative in Colombia, with whom we've begun this path. And for us, it's always been important to be updated always in the development or the on-site project. But we've had a more active part, especially in recent years, because we were working a lot so we could find an end buyer. And we did it. And as you can see here, for us, projects like planetGOLD are focused, of course, on the environment because of the mercury, but also focused on health, the health of people, and the biodiversity. But as you can see here, for us, it's important to have a topic that can influence a goal and can influence all of the players very positively. In fact, in this program, we're not only achieving global partnerships, but we're also improving the life of small communities which have always lived off artisanal mining through the diversification of the economy, training people, which is fundamental. Also, very simple matters that can be tied to the everyday finance. And even better, of course, using better practices for mining extraction. So the idea is to eliminate the use of mercury. So with this, I can say that companies in the supply chain is working a lot, and I'd like to thank our counterparties in Colombia, which is an expo, who's always developed in the most responsible way this, along with the AMR, which on site has developed a project with the UN, supporting the training of communities as well as ongoing improvement. We're really glad that at the end, we have been able to begin the supply chain, and we're also happy, and we also hope that this is a small example that can be multiplied in the country and in other countries worldwide. Therefore, I'd like to end by saying that there are refineries that are, and that if there are refineries listening to this panel, we would be very happy to share with you our experience, and that each one of us can change this industry to the better. Only if we do not exclude the most important part of the chain, which is the origin. We have to help our artisanal miners and not exclude them. Engagement is important, especially when there are stakeholders and counterparties in the supply chain which are interested as we are. Thank you so much. Thank you, Alice. And from here, we're really happy as well for all the efforts and achievements made so far. Thank you all for sharing with us your role and how you see the building of this chain and how we can continue working in it. This is just the beginning, and as Alice has said, we hope to have many more efforts on a short-term basis and to contribute to the sustainable supply chains that we want in a long-term basis. Okay, now let's begin a panel with all of you six, and let's begin with the Ministry of Mines and Energy. Mary Ellen, from that viewpoint of the institutionality and the mining authority, how do you think that the responsible supply chains do support the small-scale mining and subsistency mining? How do you see improvements of the quality of life of these communities? Thank you, Liliana, for your question. From the Ministry of Mines and Energy, we do firmly believe that mineral supply chains should show their initial to their end cycle, because it allows miners to make alliances with national and international buyers, obtaining financial benefits as a result of good practices and the compliance of social and environmental standards, which at the end really creates and builds trust and reliability in the sector. And that's what we're working on, to recover the credibility in the sector, in the mining sector, with regards to other companies of different productive lines. That really will help us to create follow-up in the mineral supply chains. Good, thank you, Mary Ellen. And how do you think that this responsible gold strategy is supported by the Colombian Authority? Tell us 3 things that you think that from here on definitely will work better so these supply chains can become a reality. Okay, today the national government works with actions for the traceability of the gold and to identify the mineral from source with a project made with planetGOLD, which will help to identify responsible gold supply chains, integrating for instance, local banks, local commercializers, as brokers of gold to export the ore and having a higher price and more stability for revenue. And when it comes to enhancement, we will enhance others to be tied to this, and that creates good practices. So it attracts other miners to get on the train and to start to create strategies together. Also with the mining agency, we're working on a gold traceability project. Also, when it comes to traceability of minerals, we provide information regarding commercial transactions made in Colombia through different technological operators, and it will incorporate information available from other platforms available within the mining agencies such as Anamir Mining, Genesis, and Rucon. So with this traceability platform, which will involve from the beginning, as I told you, I mean, it will show the history of the mineral from the very beginning to its end consumption. This platform will be part of the traceability and will engage other platforms which are part of the mining authority. For those that are with us, when we talk about ANA mining, this is a platform within the mining authority used to receive applications, legal applications, to legalize regions, areas, mines. Thank you, Gabriela, and definitely this will be one of the most interesting projects that we can have from the Ministry of Mines and Energy to have a sole platform where we can see the small-scale mines when it comes to the source. This is fundamental. Thank you for what you're sharing. And now I'd like to hear Juliana from the La Gabriela. How has your life changed and the history of the mine through the compliance of these criteria, craft, planetGOLD, and now to be Fair Mine certified? What changes do you see now? Hello, good morning. Changes many, beginning because we're much more organized to identify what we had, and knowing our starting point to reach a goal allowed us to organize ourselves, to have better budgets, to work with all the employees, to create spaces so that we could all learn. I mean, this has been a change for everyone involved here. So we've been taking baby steps. It's been hard. It's to stop learning what we knew and learn new things. But it's been significant for everybody to know that we have better work conditions, that we'll have better opportunities, and that now we're at a point in which we can say, we do want this, we don't want this, we like this, we can participate. It's to feel very proud, really. I've seen the entire change of my family with the efforts made. And that the effort has given way to good results. It's been very special for my family. Thank you, Juliana. It's important to feel proud of that gold. I had the opportunity to visit La Gabriela mine to see your operations, and there are very positive changes there. Now I'd like to ask you, how do you think that the government and market agents can support the changes and assist you, especially for small-scale mining? Firstly, I feel that entities should join and unify their criterion to train their personnel about the mining sector, because we were stigmatized many times because because there's a lack of knowledge. So that's the first things first, to unify criteria to improve. Secondly, if changes are needed, we have to train everybody so the changes won't be abrupt. Instead, they should be gradual. So the idea is to train, to inform, and not to do things immediately, but instead step by step, because all of these changes create costs. So if there's no knowledge, the cost is higher because you go through trial and error. So it's important to keep in mind that this is step by step and to be trained. Train the miners and the entity that will intervene. Okay, thank you so much, Juliana. Thank you. You're very kind. We hope to continue visiting you at La Gabriela and to share with you all the advances, and also we hope Alice can come to Colombia and get to see the great experience that you have in Tarazán. Now, I'd like to talk with Luz Mary about the participation of Grupo Altea in this chain. You're a key link here nationally. How do you feel in Altea as a key link? Okay, good morning, first of all. We, as a key link of the chain, we are committed 100% to all the processes of traceability and due diligence. So from the very beginning of the company, we've worked hard to have rigorous processes when it comes to engaging suppliers, due diligence. Involving ourselves in these types of projects contributes a lot to our supply chain. So we also have that goal that all of our supply chain can be 100% appraised or backed by these types of criteria, like the Swiss Gold Responsible Criteria, with which we've been working with for a long time, and in which we've always met. The planetGOLD project with ARM to have several mining units within this fair mine certification. That will help us have a certain level of trust to add all of these validators to our due diligence, which is not only stringent, but we also have this other validators that gives us more certainty of traceability and knowledge. Also, these projects help the miners, artisan miners, to meet good practices, to improve their processes, to implement cleaner extraction practices, and to take care of the communities and their environment. So we're very proud of having a supply chain that contributes to good practices and to show the rest of the world that Colombia has traceable and transparent mining practices. Thank you, Luz Mary. And with regards to criteria, to use this criteria of due diligence, which is so stringent, what do you think is the biggest challenge? What do you think has been the most difficulty you've seen among miners? I think that there are huge challenges in Colombia, and they're mostly related to engaging different entities, because the idea is that different entities should be more aware of the regions, of the production processes, to engage with the requirements. So bank entities, government entities like the national agency should engage and back these small-scale miners, because in our experience, these miners really are making huge efforts to improve, to be more sustainable, to contribute to the development, economic development of Colombia. So I think the entities should help these miners so that they can be better trained and legalized. Also, the banking system. We are aware that recently there's a rule in Colombia that backs the criteria, that, but really banks are not aware of how mines work, how they produce, despite the regulations. I think that banks should open more their doors to the mines. So it's been a complicated process with banks, especially to have access by small-scale minings. And we think that banks are key for our traceability and transparency process in the sector. Thank you, Luz Mary. And lastly, what is the main lesson for you as a link and our articulator of the national market? I mean, the big lesson, give me a phrase, this is what we've learned so far. It's very relevant to have a commitment of the miners with these processes. I see that miners are not doing it just to meet the law, but they really want to improve their process. They have this commitment to good practices, to carry out sustainable activities, activities that do not hurt nearby communities, to take care of the environment. So to see their commitment, it really goes beyond the regulation per se. It's not only to meet that standard or to have an additional revenue, but really I see the miners involved in doing things right. And a lesson, it has to do, for me, it's that engagement that I see of different sectors to have different alliances between the government, NGOs, these types of projects that lead to additional benefits to the mining units. Thank you, Luz Mary. We really want to thank you for being with us today. And we hope not only receive La Gabriela, but the other mines, which we want to prepare so that you can cover them with this important strategy for the sector. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Luz Mary. Now, let's listen to Alice with a question that I have in my head. Why buy responsible gold and support small-scale minings in countries like Colombia? What do you think moves the market? Thank you, Liliana. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm very happy to see so many women in this panel. And that's important because we are basic and paramount to this industry. And this is something that I love, especially in Colombia, where women play a fundamental role in mining commercialization. Okay, for us, Colombia is an example of a country that's considered of high risk globally for many reasons, especially have an organization, especially when it comes to governance. Mapping, which is very advanced in South America. So to start working with in a country like Colombia has been I can't remember the word, has been a choice. Because knowing the country, we've realized how the public authority has done good work to organize the sector. Also, I'd like to back what Luz Mary has said about the problems of accessing banks, because there's fear of the ASMs for financial inclusion, because ASMs are not well known. So if you have fear, many times they want to be far away from risk. But this is a problem, because if you exclude an important part of the supply chain, there's something wrong there. We always have to improve, and we have to do so collaborating and working together. And I've said before, and I have always said, if we want to change the sector and improve it, it's important to include ASMs the best way possible. And as I've said before as well, we've begun training and providing information, because when there's fear, perhaps there's ignorance about something. So we have to really move on and collaborate with all the counterparties so we can fight this fear. And it's really a pleasure as well, because working with Juliana and listening to the other presentations, you can see how incredible results are there when we work together. And as you've said, Liliana, we want, as soon as possible, with the problems of COVID, of course, it was hard to travel, but thanks to the Alliance for Responsible Mining and an expo, it was easier to have counterparties there to make the on-site visits and to provide us information about progress made. Also, that also gives you a response to the first question. Thank you, Alice. You also talked about sustainability in your presentation. What do you think we should improve for that sustainability of the supply chains? Can you hear me? Alice, oh, okay, while Alice reconnects, Maria Jose, now that you're with us, working with ARM and working with planetGOLD, I'd like to ask you, what's been the challenge, the main challenge that you've had to face as an organization assisting these mining sectors and units? Thank you, Liliana. Well, the commercialization or the connection of the mining groups with the market is the result of many things that happened before. So it's a result of a formalization process. It's a result that they have good tools and technological equipment to have an efficient process. And when we arrive to this point, we add the expenses to be able to connect with markets that are far away. There are contexts in which there are no formal buyers. So when you want to connect with formal chains, you have to make additional expenses and investments. And you have to reach that point in which, remember, there isn't a lot of money involved here. Also, what I've seen in Colombia are perverse incentives with the informal market. So we see that the informal market wants to provide these mines payments that are faster, how the money gets to them better. So we see these chains of how we can create incentives. And it's important to establish long-term commercial relations that go beyond just a commercial relation and really provide support to the miners. So when there is a challenge, they know who to resort to better. Also, it's important that focus on due diligence to make it progressive. We are aware that mining organizations are undergoing a process to improve, and that these miners are extremely committed to their formalization and continuous improvement process. So the idea is that to see the industry improving this is very valuable, and also that these incentives can take place with competitive buying proposals in which they perhaps have access to find support for loans to improve their productivity, or they have the certification of Fairmind. And I fully share what Alicia said, to commit to the ASM, and that the due diligence and formalization isn't something that excludes ASMs from the chain, but also guarantees them access to these markets, these formal markets. Thank you, Maria Jose, and for all of your explanations and contributions, because I think they help build this panel. And I have a couple of questions here from the chat. Thomas Halter asks, who is processing Gabriela mine? Altea is doing that, and who is buying this? Italpreziousi or the final buyer? So I'd like to give you these questions. I don't know who would like to answer. I can answer, since I know about this. Go ahead. Processing the plant of La Gabriela. The gold is given to Altea Group, which in turn exports it without making a transformation of the gold. And Italpreziousi does refine the gold. So the gold is taken to different jewelry brands, but there is a brand committed here to that chain. So the first processing directly from the mining organization. There's a collection export process from Altea, and the refining is in the hands of Italpreziousi. Yes, let me complement this. We, as the industrial users, make an initial transformation since we are users of goods and services. However, it's not a initial refining. It's because Italpreziousi does it. So the idea now is that we see that it's not only to Italpreziousi, but also to Switzerland. Thank you, Luzmeri, for the explanation. We have Alicia here with us. So, Alicia, let me ask you about that challenge so that these chains can be really sustainable. What's the key challenge and your vision as an international commercializer? Thank you, and I'm sorry, but the connection dropped. Well, of course, the goal is to create chains that are much more responsible in each stage. I mean, we are a refinery, yes. So we're right in the middle of the chain. So for us, it's very important to always have knowledge of the origin, because when we say we can guarantee the traceability, we don't say it just because it's in fashion, but because it's true, because we have a due diligence tool that's very strong and allows us to have controls from the very beginning. Therefore, I've always said that our supply chains are all responsible because we provide training. Either if it's on a small, medium, or large scale. It could be a trader or a mine. But what changes in these small chains is that besides due diligence and supporting with training, there are also chances of improving the origin, helping from our part their access to the international market, which in this case is the Altea Group. To help smaller communities, yes, but they have huge potential. So I just want to say that greatness has nothing to do with potential. Potentials are always huge. And here with these initiatives, it's better than a normal supply chain because there's a link between all the players to help the origin. And I hope that very soon I'll go to Colombia to see La Gabriela mine and get to know you. And of course, I want them to come to Italy because I want them not only, I want them to get to see what we do as well. We all learn from each other. Okay, that's a good conclusion for the panel. Before we end, I'd like to provide you a comment from Rafael Sanchez in our chat. And he asks, what about those small volumes handled by the small-scale artisans? Is there like a protection of those brokers that try to commercialize this gold? I mean, what comments can you give us about these small amounts of the subsistence miners? How do you protect this topic? This is a comment that we have a chat, and I'd like to respond. Rafael, Luzmeri, can you give us a hint about these small volumes? Yes. When it comes to artisanal mining, we've been doing great work with the Swiss Gold, the Responsible Gold. And with them, we've been working with small miners to meet the criteria of the initiative. They have been making progress with this compliance through stages. First, they're in the second stage where we start to see additional premiums because of the compliance of criteria and showing good practices. The mineral has been accumulated from artisanal miners, and it's physical traceable to the end consumer that's committed and wishes to pay premiums to guarantee good practices and the criteria that the miners commit to. So we're also working with the artisanal miners to guarantee traceability, to use the good practices, and to gain the certifications and to meet the criteria needed. Thank you, Luzmeri. We hope then within our chain to have these small scale miners and subsistency miners and to invite them to this forum. Thank you all for being with us today. I believe that for all of our listeners and those that connected, they will have an interesting pilot and they can hear us again if you want to look at these good practices that we have talked about today. Lastly, we'd like to end with a video of our visit made to La Gabriela so you can fall in love with this experience and help us replicate this great experience in Antioquia. Thank you all for joining us and the 80 people that were connected with us today. Thank you so much. Juan, show us the video, and I hope to see you all again. Thank you. Thank you. If you like what you're doing, begin. You're not, with the mine, you're not going to be rich one day after the other. It's gradual. But if you like it and you start with baby steps and you start improving everything and improving, it's easy. And it's not a problem. It becomes a habit. You take the gold out with a lot of sacrifice. It's hard, it's expensive, and you have to sacrifice a lot. Physically, with your family. There are many problems, many things that show up. And and to know that the gold is being used well, arriving to a certain place, makes you feel good. Mining for us is what we've learned from our parents. My father and all my family has worked in this, and that's how I was raised. You call family those that are with you, your spouse, your children, brothers and sisters. But the friends and workers become also part of the family, because what happens to your workers, they end the shift and they're friends with us, and we're all together. We do everything together. Here, you protect a lot of the environment, because where I worked before, open pit, it was illegal and you destroy the environment. But here instead, we protect the environment a lot. We find synergies between what they wanted and what we could provide. So based on that, we started working successfully. It's been since 2018 that we've been working with them, and it's been a long process, yes. But they've been financed by different international cooperation agencies. We have planetGOLD, and it reinforces everything that we've done since then. In this visit, we've had many lessons, but mainly I have the sensation that mining can be done in harmony with the environment. We have a family-owned business with a lot of efforts and sacrifices, but of course, we see miners that understand that through this activity, you can earn a living responsibly and provide the best for the families and for all the workers involved in the organization. Always trying to do things the best way possible and taking care of the environment and health. Mining for me is life. It's what I do.